Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, returning guest. His name is Dr. Hans Utter. Last name is spelled Utter. If you've listened to my show, I've been discussing a lot of different subjects with him, some with Sean McCann at times. But we did an 8-part series, and you'll see that if you're watching this on YouTube, X, or Rockfin. You'll see that the full title is MK Ultra Music is the Weapon, from Manson to the Technotronic Control State. And so that's set aside in 8 full, almost all of them are 90 minutes or more in duration. So there's a lot of listening there, a lot of great information, very unique information that sets him apart from so many other researchers. But today we're going to do a part 2, and the title of this one is Advanced Soviet Research on Cybernetics, Biofield, Energetics, and Cognitive Restructuring. We talked about a bunch of different stuff we were talking about in the first one, and we're going to follow kind of on those themes. And he has some slides. We barely got through any of the slides last time we talked, but I'm delighted to have him back. So Dr. Hans Utter, welcome back to the show.
William, great to be here. And let me get my water bottle out of the shot there. But yeah, it's great to be back and continue this. I think will prove to be a very interesting topic. It is. There's so many different, dimensions to it. So I'll try not to get too far afield in the background. But, the background is very, very important also, especially with current geopolitical things that are going on and the whole mythos of the Cold War, right? And which we may touch upon as we go further in, but the fact is that the Cold War, you have a large scale infiltration of leftist, socialist, whatever you want to call it, going back to look at H.G. Wells, right? New World Order. I mean, generally speaking, you have people that are elites, right? They're sitting around in their manor house and talking about revolution, and so you get these. But it's the fact is that there was a tremendous amount of direct infiltration that went on starting in the 1920s, even in the United States. And the fact is that the whole, we'll talk about the Bolshevik Revolution a bit, but that was completely supported by the West, right? And also the fact is that the whole thing would have collapsed if we had not been sending them huge, massive shipments of food, of everything else. The whole country was an absolute basket case. So who supported it? It was the United States and Western Europe. And then with the Cold War, there's a nuancing is that not everybody, maybe 5%, 10% of people in control positions are part of the sort of you look at that, the symbol of Russia, which is a 2-headed eagle, right?
Right.
So that's exactly where you have communism and you have capitalism, but actually it's the same bird, right? They're
Right.
part
It's
of the
still
same.
Imperial Russia. It's never really changed, right?
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is that the Cold War was, in a lot of, even though there were many people that were staunch, anti-communist, but you have such a huge level of infiltration, and in fact that it allowed a great deal of experimentation, and also of creating this panic state of we're going to have a nuclear war, et cetera, et cetera. And so maybe 95% of the people believed in it, but people knew at the top that this is the same process that's being moved from different angles. But one of the reasons that the Russia, as we'll get into in a second here, is you very unique country and very important. So is to take that country sort of out of the picture, or put it in, have it sort of as a controlled entity, so to speak, was a really important uh, method to steer human history, right?
Right.
There, because if you look at all the levels of technological advances that were happening around, even 18th, 19th century, early 20th century, I mean, there was a tremendous amount of stuff that was happening. There's technologies, even let's say rural rife, like this frequency healing stuff, that there's stuff that's more advanced than what we have now. And there's also a lot of things that were airships, free electricity, the whole airships, right? The airships were one of the best ways to travel. There was a lot of things. Look at the architecture. You can go back and see the shift of these really amazing in the United States. You go and see some of the buildings that are built at a certain period, and then just the absolute decline. And so there
Right.
was a real peak of stuff, and the whole world could have gone in an absolutely different direction, but it obviously it didn't. And my last little thing for my intro is that what we see now is these plans are not new, as we sort of hit a bit on last time, but a lot of this stuff, even with the say the COVID rollout, or with everything that's going on right now, a lot of this stuff was already planned back in the 1910s, 1920s, 1930s. And so, but the one thing that may give a bit of hope, depending on where, I know there's probably some, elite globalists watching the show. Hey, Elon Musk, send me a million. I can deal with it. But one thing I just want to note real quick is that if you look at the intellectual level of the elites, so to speak, right? Even you look at, say, I don't know, Paul Warburg, you look at, Jacob Schiff, you look at uh, Brzezinski, you look at, so many, you have people with very high levels, high intellectual capacity, right?
Yeah.
And also great strategic planning. Now
Oh,
look, show me in the elites right now, or who are pushing this agenda with even a fraction of that, right? So I think what we have is the plan is still unfolding, but the acumen of those doing it is much less. And also you have the arrogance that it's a fait accompli. There, you know what I mean? They think there's no pushback. So I think that the level of, even though the plan is ongoing, things are unfurling, going to the ultimate, the 6G global
right.
brain, everyone's fused into the human hive mind, which you find the book which is a precursor, say, written before 1984, all this stuff. I don't think they don't have the nuance, they don't have the subtlety, they have the arrogance, they
Right.
have all these resources. I think they have a lot of legalistic and technological power, of course, but this understanding and is not there. So I don't know if that gives people hope or not, but I, of course, the
Well,
whole,
you can just look at John Kerry and Al
oh
Gore
god,
as examples.
ugh,
They are offspring. They're kind of the American fuddy-duddies, elite offspring who are pushing this. Gore is BSing this whole climate change. And those are the kind of leading lights, the elites, but they're empty suits, man. I mean, they really are. Compared to Lenin or Stalin or some of these other guys, Trotsky, these guys were brilliant, man. Really smart guys. Doesn't mean they'd made decisions that were pretty horrifying, but yeah, they were very well read and expressed themselves very well. At least Stalin for sure.
well, they also had a much deeper understanding of the world, a much more nuanced understanding. And of course, it, it, it must be clearly understood that you want to see the roots of a lot of this stuff. It's the theory of evolution and Marxism, which I may have mentioned last time. The theory of evolution is an essential component of this. This goes to the British aristocracy, and this very clear idea that there are superior beings and everyone else is inferior. And how do you get enough work done that you can have it, you have your power and control. You want to have enough level of intelligence. You want to have a certain group of people that can run the factories or do this or that. But you want to basically have a complete absolute slave class. And so this whole theory of evolution with this materialistic, Marxism, you have dialectical materialism.
Right.
This whole concept is has was taken to heart by so many people, right? And even atheism. Okay, there's no God, everything just happened. Well, there's no evidence. There's not a single actual piece of evidence for the theory of evolution. Not one. There's, except for stuff there was a bunch of kind of forgeries and this and that. It doesn't mean that species
Piltdown Man or all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. To be fake. Yeah.
I mean, this I don't want to get too wacky. I mean,
one of the interesting things, you can draw a line between the theory of evolution and ufology because it's almost like a fraud built on a fraud built on a fraud. So you have the original kind of non-scientific, ascent of man, and then just people building on that for whatever reason. And the UFO is a lot like the same. You just go through and parse through some of those stories. They're baloney. Not all of them. There's people who think they're experiencing stuff, but there's a lot of problems there.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is the whole thing with the dinosaurs, right? So how many of the dinosaurs are actually real, right? A lot of these were constructed. They took different types of bones and put them together. There was how come nobody before the theory of evolution came out? How come nobody had found dinosaurs before? Right? How come it wasn't? And so that whole thing, it's potential that this is all BS. Now, what you do have, right here in Ohio, right in the heart of it all, Ohio, there's lots. You have the mound builder culture. You have like the serpent mound. You have they had these huge networks of these structures that were obviously made out of earth, but they're connected with all, vast cosmic cycles actually, and all different cycles of the earth and good stuff like that, and constellations. And then you have the giants, 8 foot, 10 foot tall people. These were found all over. Who came? The Smithsonian came and took them. They all disappeared. There were a few places where you could still find that, but there's a lot of stuff and technology that was hidden, that was, in history, that things that didn't comport, it didn't fit into this particular theory, the theory of evolution. This data was destroyed, right? Or hidden away, whether it's in the Vatican or in the Smithsonian or it's in an incinerator. But something like dinosaurs, I don't know. I've just seen a lot of these things were frauds. I'm not saying dinosaurs don't exist. I don't want someone to think
some people, I've heard some pretty credible people say the whole thing is fraud. The whole dinosaur story is just made up stuff. And some of these dinosaurs are made up of like one piece, and the next thing you know, they've got a brontosaurus. Like, this is what it's gonna look like. Like, it's fantastical. Like, some of the stuff is really ridiculous.
Yeah. And so, but this, so the theory of evolution and also Marxism, right? And of course they are melded together. One would not exist without the other. But what is provided by that? Well, first of all, there's an abdication of responsibility as a human being for having a human life, because you're just a bunch of chaos, random atoms that have come together. So what's the point of having a moral life? Enjoy yourself, or nihilism, right? It creates nihilism. It creates the justification for scientific totalitarian dictatorships. It creates justification for wiping out, whether it's the Holodomor in Ukraine, whether it's the Spanish flu, which most likely was caused by the vaccination that they gave. And there's Arthur Furstenberg says it was caused by the radio television types of, well, it was pre-television, but caused by electromagnetic pollution. But basically, if you can trace it directly, everybody who did not get this vaccine they're getting didn't get Spanish flu, right? So, and so that how many people that killed? Millions. How many people died?
Millions, yeah.
How many people died in World War One? Millions.
Millions, yeah.
How many people died in World War Two? Millions. And
60, 70 million, something like that.
and how many people died in the Soviet Union?
Oh,
Hundreds.
that's a really good
Hundred.
question.
I mean, you
Yeah.
go up to 120 million people.
It's incredible. The
So,
numbers are off the charts, yeah.
but how do you justify that? You justify that through this ideology. And the thing is that a big part of this is suspension of people's ability to really think and understand. And it provides this scientism, expertism. So again, just to think about it, like I said this, I think last week, but if you take a watch apart and put all those watch pieces, is a watch going to assemble itself? If you take a Rolex apart, is that going to assemble itself? If it, no. So this idea that we're just, and even the idea that humans are apes, right? So we're basically just animals. It removes both the you could say the glory or the potentiality and the responsibility of being a higher order species. Oh, we're just monkeys. Oh, I can't control it. It's just my reptilian brain. So,
that's the power of that ascent of man picture, the symbol. You're just some kind of thing in a swamp, and then you ascend through monkeys to man. So it takes away like the old biblical order. It's incredible, but it's very successful too. It led to millions of deaths, just like you said.
Yeah, and also though it leads to, it can lead to a type of what we call not pacifism, but I mean people become pacified. They don't strive. Yeah. And the other thing is that you can. It's this mechanistic universe, and so within that mechanistic universe, man becomes God, right? Man, Adam Kadam, man ascends to the role of God, which is the goal of the alchemical in all these occultists, is that we will usurp creation and we're going to make our own creation, which is why we have the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, why we have 6G, which is where you become a biocell in the network. It feeds off of you and you are wired into everyone else as part of this network. If 6G is, when I first saw that about 2020, I thought it was just some BS, but no, this is real. They want to implement this too. I mean, and so from Leary to whatever, it's the same agenda. And also this whole idea of you can just pop a pill, you take a drug and you'll become a Buddha, you'll become Jesus, like Charles Manson, right? He became like he thought he was a Messiah. Did he not? That they took this street hoodlum, made him into a Messiah through giving him LSD. But this is still based on this technocratic utopianism, which is the premise is false. It's artificial, and with even just the smallest amount of thought, show me any species that evolved. Now, is de-evolution possible? Absolutely. Can human beings degrade? And so it technically, you may be hard pressed to actually call most Homo sapiens as human beings anymore because of the de-evolution. You can lose cognitive ability, you can lose athletic ability, you can lose empathy, you can lose higher qualities, you can lose literacy. The decline in literacy from the internet, from people not reading books, you lose so many cognitive abilities. So can we devolve? Absolutely. But
it's happened right in front of our eyes, Hans. It's happened in one generation.
Yeah.
Like you used to have people talking about books and interesting things to going to TikTok videos. It's incredible. It's incredible what they've done. And they've been tampering with the human, just like Brave New World. They've been poisoning and adjusting and fluoridating and giving people shots. I mean, we're really closer to guinea pigs than humanity's ever been. And you have testosterone going down in men, which is really a defining element of humanity, really, the testosterone. So, yeah, you can definitely devolve. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. So let's dive into the PowerPoint here. And
All right, cool. Do you want to go to the next slide, or
yep.
are we on this
Uh,
one?
so I can, well, I can just go. I forget where we stopped.
You
But
can do it too. You can move through the slides if you like. You should see the little white thing in Majiggers.
okay.
Yep.
So we could just touch on a few of these things that are quite interesting. So information system theory, so global brain. One thing in the Soviet Union, another thing is literature, right? They were very, if you look at Dostoevsky, you look at Tolstoy, Pushkin, and all, classical
The
composers.
greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Greatest literature of all time.
Absolute, great intelligence and just amazing, that was sort of leading the way for humanity. But at the same time, science fiction is very important. That came during the Soviet era, the science fiction that was put out. And I think that Minsky video that you guys probably watched when you were doing something with Sean, that he talks about the importance of science fiction as the programming mechanism, right? 2001: A Space Odyssey, the obelisk, right? The obelisk, the apes. This is where you have
the
this
monolith.
monolith. Yeah. This. So, but anyway, so global brain. So all this stuff, came earlier, but I'm not familiar with Cybersyn. But Cybersyn was this was a rollout, sort of a pre-rollout, almost like a. Call it was an attempt to create, like, this was done in Chile before the coup in September 11th, 1970. Actually,
we talked about that in one of our other the MK Ultra series.
Yeah. So if you want to bring up I don't.
Yeah,
Let me. I can
see if I can find it. There it is. This is that weird.
Look at that. The Star Trek. Room, yeah. Look at that. Oh my God. Look at that. The operations room. And
it's like out of 2001. It almost has like they decided like on this new, that whatever aesthetic style, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things though that were everything that's happening now was based upon what was attempted or rolled out in Cybersyn. And I think there may be it is like, look at that weird diagram, and so what you do see though, even a lot of these cybernetic people, the beers or whatever, they use these occult types of symbolism and structures within a scientific context, right? So cybernetics is really this fusion of what do you call alchemical left-hand path types of things with science and technology. And so even in Cybersyn, you look at that weird tree over there, and whatever that thing on the left looks like kind of a strange tree of life. But was it these chairs? I mean, it's real.
But you should read some of these writings here. Join us now and share the software. You'll be free, hacker. You'll be free. Share the software. And it's freedom is in this. Join us now with little buttons. Like it's I wish I could speak Spanish, but like application baterias, application vinylicos, photo baterias. I mean, it's just something else.
And did they, maybe they did have the technology to make it work, but you have to remember that the computers, like my father, he worked for Bell Laboratories, so, and also was like, so I got, I was just like a little kid, got to go into these huge computer centers, which is these vast machines that these huge arrays of these things that your cell phone has more power than a $10 million computer installation did in the 60s and 70s, at least as far as we know. But
this is incredible. It's like the forward thinking of socialism. Capitalism had to squelch any kind of competitive things from the Soviet Union or anybody on those kind of socialistic left. They always did. And this was probably just done away after they greased Allende, September 11th, 1973, right? That's the first September 11th, but that's really something else. Yeah. I mean, This is so forward thinking. It's really, and it's a mix of two words, right? Cybernetics and synergy is what it says here, which
Well,
makes perfect sense.
well, what's interesting, there used to be some videos that were done at the time, and I just looked it up, and there's a bunch of I'm looking on YouTube, but what you see is how the CIA destroyed cybernetic socialism, the economic alternative killed by the CIA.
Wow.
Oh well,
Wow. So there it is. That's a whole nother show. But
yeah,
that's the title of it. That's the title of cyber socialism.
the will. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So this is a Stafford Beer who was. You should. He's one who he tied in. He was from elite background, upper crust British stuff. Is this socialist? It was really funny, right? These people are from lords of the manor, and yet they're talking about socialism.
Right.
But he got into occultism, he got into all these other things, but he also was very practical engineering background. But there's one thing he has, and it looks like sort of a weird Kabbalistic diagram or some kind of a yantra, occult stuff, but it's a factory plan, but it's a factory where everyone lives in the factory, and the workers that aren't needed, there's a method just to get rid of them and recycle their bodies. This is the compassion of socialism. So I can just this is
so that's just saying that September 11th, 1973, his effort to modernize the nation's economy with an advanced computer network is abandoned. So he's like another of these forward thinkers. They had to. That's why the whole space race was such a important element in the battle and the faked moon landing. I mean, it's all within the context of stuff like this, the Cold War, the battle between socialism and capitalism, right?
Yeah. So there are this Stafford Beer, like, so he has he has stuff that will go into detail about it. Cybernetics and revolution. Well, how are you going to have? No, there is system theory, right? So but just so people, just to say a little bit about cybernetics, which I didn't mention, is that so cybernetics was developed as a science of governance. It's a science of control. The word cyber, of course, cyberspace, all that comes from cybernetics, developed at the Macy conferences. You have 1942, the original conference, which is cerebral inhibition. And so the cerebral inhibition is what? It's hypnosis. It's the hypnotic state. And the thing is that you have a lot of connections from like the Whole Earth catalog, Leary, all these guys were all also connected with it. So,
right.
Is that? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you go. What?
It's an alarm in my background. Sorry, Carl.
Okay. If you want to play some of the stuff about it, it'd be interesting. I found some very long 2-hour videos. There's Stafford Beer. See if we can listen to this guy. He was a big part of it.
I'd have to download it and then re-upload it.
Okay.
For some reason, YouTube does not allow the audio to come through the front. Well, as long as I have something in my earpiece, so I'd have to repeat. We'll do it on the next show. I'll download some of the stuff to listen to it.
Okay. Yeah. So, but anyway, so this is a huge, this is a whole nother topic, and I don't want to go too much into that, but just to also show that. So you have the CIA coup, but then of course they installed a dictatorship. But many people think and believe that this was the CIA took away this amazing opportunity. Well, we're moving towards that cyber sin model, social credit. There's your cyber sin, total control of everything, everywhere you go. China, you want to see is that you want to live under that?
No,
total lack of freedom.
Who would want to? Honestly, like, I mean, imagine the controls behind it. It's like the controls behind the AI. You think that you're going to get some kind of benevolent hand in between this technology? I mean, behind the technology and you, there's no way. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, it's a human being behind the curtain. You don't want this. You don't want some corrupt person who's power hungry to make those decisions. It's crazy.
Yeah, but one thing that understand, that you look at, look at Maoist. I mean, like China, right? Mao. I mean, they just, and that was Mao was not, or Pol Pot. In Cambodia, Pol Pot, that his name is not a Cambodian name. You know what his name is? He's hanging out in Paris with all the socialist elites, and they said he had political potential, so that just became his name. And
it was like Pol Pot is short for political something. His real name was like Souverain Savaranoth or something like that.
It means political potential. It means that he was marked that we could use this guy, like Saddam Hussein was. Like
AOC was farmed. You know they farmed for her. Salah Sar was his name, real name, given name. AOC was like she. There was some kind of call for.
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah, and I believe like she was like an actress or something, right? Or waitress. Yeah, and what you see with just going back, like these elites. I mean, there are good senators and this and that. People that really read this stuff. Remember Byrd from West Virginia, right? Even though he maybe that guy was a real intellect. During like the Iraq War, he would really read. There are people out there, but the thing is that the administrative state can actually make laws and implement and enforce laws, right? So this is how all this stuff has happened. And so you have these two counter poles, but both poles are leading to the same destination. It's like the eagle looks like you have two opposing directions, but it's all the same unit. But again, how many people know that are within these systems? Not so many, except for those at the top. Yeah, but you have these morons, and sorry to say morons, but yeah, I mean, like AOC, like she is really dumb, man.
Yeah, she's not very.
She has a fair. Could you imagine being like trapped in a desert island with her? Wow, that would be bad.
No, it's not good. A lot of these, and I think that's not uncommon, unfortunately, in a lot of these political parties. They just find somebody as a front, and then they install them, and then they kind of do the bidding of the person who installed them. So I think that's a lot of these prosecutors and DAs, actually, the Soros ones. Like they're not smart. This Lanny girl, whatever, Fanny from Georgia, she is an idiot. I mean, she's a literal, like almost like she's a 2-digit IQ, which, is sad. You don't make fun of people like that. But
is she really 2-digit IQ, right?
I can just tell. You should see her like papers, like her prosecutorial complaints and stuff are like written by, I could get a 9th grader to write a better document. It's like the language is at a 9th grade level. It's sad.
Well, just the stupidity of literally having an affair with the guy, not thinking that, your cell phone's going to track your location. And you're coming at 11 p.m., leaving at 4:30 in the morning. What are you doing? What are you guys doing? Working on work projects?
It's just crazy. I mean, they're above the law, so they know they can get away with it. That's really what it is.
Well, there's a lot of complexity and nuance to really understand how this stuff unfolded, but we can look at like the whole transgender stuff, like this idea. So this goes into the next level from the scientism, is that everything is simply whatever you think it is. What we decide reality is reality. So if I think I'm a woman, I'm a woman. And then so
it's man is God, right? It's like Gnosticism. It's just like you said earlier. Like we don't question it. You can just be a woman now. Like even though your biological traits are male, you're a woman. It's so strange.
Well, and there's no more. There is no more objective reality. Objective reality is gone. Right? There is no objectivity. There is simply the reality is what is being imposed and what is being decided upon by those that are our masters, whether it's using the language, it's a dictatorship, or whether it's, we for the people, socialism. Now, socialism as an idea, the thing is that, like, say, social credit. What was social credit? Originally, it was a system. It's an economic system that was developed in the United States around the turn of the end of the night, 1890s ish. And so social credit, every country that implemented that have immediately has massive prosperity. And like Germany, what everyone would say about Nazi Germany, the fact is that they implemented this social credit system where the labor creates the currency. The currency is created by the value you input. Libya, same thing. Other countries, any country that's implemented this, number one, they immediately get out of debt. They have tremendous economic prosperity, and they're destroyed.
Then they have to be destroyed. It's too prosperous, right?
Yeah. It's so that happen. Like, I mean, if you look at like Gaddafi, it was actually that was what I was not really that proud to say. I was like I thought communism seemed like a great thing. Oh, it's really good. When I was like college or whatever, but it was that the bombing of Libya. I was like, man, this is how can you trust any of these clowns? There's no, they're bringing democracy. They just, they wiped that country out. But yet people are still in this mythos that there's some compassion that they have. No, there's no compassion. In fact, they're worse because at least when you have your dictator rolling over you with a tank or something, you see it in your face. This is done subtly, but okay. I'm going on a rant.
But Libya is a perfect example. It's very similar to Chile, actually. They cannot have these people have any advancement or success in the whole kind of neo-imperial world order. And Libya, like the kind of, it was a very calm society, and Codify, whatever you pronounce his last name, he like gave people money for college, houses. Everybody was housed. There's no debt. He had oil money. He was, he was a dictator, but they couldn't allow any kind of examples of prosperity. And so he's one of the 7 they have to get rid of, right? So they're just killing all those countries. Syria, Iraq, Lebanon's pretty much a mess. Libya. I forgot who's next. Oh, Iran is probably the next to be targeted.
But it was so the social credit economic system. So it's, of course, we don't need this whole thing, with I'm sure you're familiar with Federal Reserve debt, money as debt. So perpetual debt, right? We are literally in debt. We are collateral. In fact, in this, don't try this at home. There's people you can, find your social security number on the stock exchange. People try to cash out and get, that's kind of like the sovereign citizen thing. That's not going to take you real far. It'll take you to a jail cell pretty quickly. But the thing is that we are literally debt. We are simply we are living batteries to have our resources extracted, and everything is based on this perpetual debt, which requires perpetual growth, which requires overdevelopment of technology, over extraction of resources. You don't need to have continual growth. But within this debt-based economic system, with the Federal Reserve, et cetera, you always have to keep growing and growing and growing, right? Because you're always in debt. Now, this did push a lot of development of technology, right? Innovation, because everyone's, but the debt cycle, but the social credit, which is, the original, that economic concept it's very simple. But if you do that, your currency, again, the productive work, the creative work, this is what generates the currency. This immediately, this creates immediate prosperity and changes the entire system. It's much simpler to do than these complex financial instruments and all this other crap that we have, now. But anyways, but then look at the terminology. Social credit is what? Social credit is a total control grid. We have a social credit system. And I was on a show, I won't mention the guy's name, but it was with, it was one of these, types of shows. And the guy was talking about how they have, they're setting up these, communal intentional communities, but they have their own crypto digital currency, and they have their own social credit system. And I was like, dude, why do you need a social credit system? Oh, this makes people behave, whatever. No, social credit means that who decides what social credit? Social credit is the total control grid. You no longer have any freedom. If you don't trust someone to be able to operate on a moral basis, it's living in your intentional community, and you're going to use a social credit system. So this is an example of something you can look for things like this. This is a way out. This is, we have building these intentional communities. We're taking our freedom back. Well, if you have a cryptocurrency and you have social credit system that everyone has to have an app on their phone, how is this not just a little like a cyber sin pre-rollout, right? This is a little rollout of what they're going to have for the whole planet.
Right.
Oh, wow. Could you get this guy on?
Yeah, I should get this guy on. I was just going to write that. We should talk about it. I was just sending it to him. Tolkien's here. He studied cybernetics with Norbert Wiener at MIT. Like, that's incredible.
I would love to.
Yeah,
God and Gollum.
Yeah, send me an email.
We could maybe, if he wants to, I don't know, maybe get him on the show with us.
Yeah, I mean, the next one. That'd be good.
No, well, yeah. Norbert Wiener, of course, is the so you have like the Kinsey report, and you have Norbert Wiener's book on cybernetics. They were both put out around the same time. Both were immensely popular and successful, and just so basically, cybernetics, just in a very simplified thing, is it's based on governance. Governance meaning it's based on the principle of control. You can look at it was originally used for guided missile systems, which is what Wiener worked on. And one thing that's very important, around the same time too, you have the positive thinking movement. Well, actually in the cybernetic system, positive feedback puts you in a cybernetic loop. It's the negative feedback that corrects the course. So positive and negative, what they mean within cybernetics and how they operate are quite different. I don't want to go too far afield on this, but very interesting guy. And the way, again, this was pushed around the same time that the Kinsey report came out. What did the Kinsey report do? The Kinsey report is that was using a quote unquote scientific method to absolutely change society, right? With all this fraudulent data. And
Kinsey to Hefner to total social chaos, like broken marriages, no sexual restraint, just, craziness. It's really, something we're used to it now, but like, it wasn't always this way. This American Family kind of sitcom and stuff.
Yeah, but we'll get into some more advances when we towards the end of this series. I'll show you some new things coming out of Russia that are taking some of these cybernetic concepts and applying them, but in a way I think that it is beneficial. But one of the things, you have signal noise ratio, right? You have communication, information. All these things are very central. And what you also have along with this is you have a lot of the research in neuroscience, endocrinology, all these other things, where the real understandings that we're come to suddenly become submerged. It's kind of like planned obsolescence. You can look at the literature up to a certain time, and you can read about in the public literature about planned obsolescence. As soon as it's fully implemented, it disappears, right? But the endocrinal system, you have, like attachment theory, all these different things that have been completely very simple ways to understand how the mind and body works. But these become submerged, right? So you're trying to correct a psychological problem and you're working at the wrong system. So what happens? You can be put into a cybernetic loop. You can have it's a feedback loop, right? It creates, it's a system where the energy, the resonance of that system keeps building in itself. So if, for example, if you have, an emotional, you quote unquote, you're depressed. Well, what does that mean? But the problem may be glandular. Okay. It may be that you have some imbalance in your hormonal system, but you take it as a psychology problem and you just talk about it. You identify yourself as, oh, I'm depressed. You start taking SSRI, you start taking Prozac, and you're putting fluoride in your brain.
Right.
You know, and you never go. The real issue could be maybe solved very quickly, but it's put in the wrong field. So, anyways, communication theory. There's so much that it's very important for this. But you can look at his book, God and Gollum, is very, very interesting. That's part of it. So, anyways,
Right. No, it's interesting. Yeah, this guy Tolkien is on the point. It's steersman, right? It's the same thing. Cybernetics or steersman.
Yeah.
He decided to call the entire field of control and communication theory, whether in the machine or in the animal, by the name cybernetics, which we form from the Greek. I don't know what that is in Greek, but steersman in Greek. So
yeah, but again, so it expanded to control every process. So everything from, as in Cybersyn, economic processes, to social processes, to material processes, to nature, what we're having now, right? You have some of the initiatives to quantify pollination, to quantify natural processes, and then you have these huge land grabs from that, right? But all the way to the human biology, the whole thing of injecting nano particulates that will sort of fuse you with the machine. This is straight out of that, right? So it's a control grid that goes from the largest possible systems, whether they're weather systems, whether they're planetary systems, to the individual cell operation within the human human body. And it's also kind of all integrated within this. So we can move on.
Do you want to go back to the slides? Because says right here, this guy's influenced these two people in your slides, Margaret Mead and Bateson, who you mention Bateson all the time. And here he is.
Schismogenesis, the creation of a schizophrenia. And just as an aside real quick, so you have his actual, Bateson is one of these people, as Mead, Margaret Mead didn't, her writing output, she had sort of a fraudulent anthropology dissertation, but the whole thing was her theory, just like the Kinsey report. Once you put that idea out in the brain, so it's about the islanders, they have this like free love culture, they do this, that. It was totally fraudulent. Okay. Wow. But the thing was that this became in the public consciousness, right? That, so, and this ties into the 1960s. This helped set up all the ethos of the 1960s. And so Bateson, I've got a bunch of, I've got all the lectures you can find. You listen to him talk. He doesn't really, it's all encoded, right? So Mead was very, very, very important, but a lot of her stuff was done behind the scenes, underground, right? It was done. So what we see on the surface is her anthropology work. You can scroll through that and see, go through that.
Right. So a lot of her anthropology work has been discounted. Is that right?
Yeah.
She was in Coming of Age in Samoa.
So yeah, it's a sort of a homage to free love, destruction of authority, but it was, so her, let's play that.
Trance and dance in ball. Wow, this is trance and hip.
All this was implemented, right? You could tie this just an aside. You have Alan Lomax, right? Alan Lomax, very important. He developed this encoding system of looking at all the different aspects of music and looking at the social structure and configuration, all these levels, and it's totally correlated. So you can actually implement. So he did. It's called Cantometrics, but basically they studied a lot of these things, and these things were brought to were implemented. Some of these cultural systems were brought and implemented on the West once they understood how this stuff worked.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
because I know that West studied a lot of this trance stuff in Bali, so there must have been something in the Indonesian culture or the Balinese culture that really interested these people like Bateson, Mead, and Jolly West. It's incredible.
Yeah, and so Mead, Bateson, she was a how do you say it?
Supported through the 33-degree I'm sorry.
But go ahead and play that.
I'm sorry. I'll have to download this for the next show. We can analyze this. But yeah, let me go back. Where's this? It really says that.
Wait,
Oh my god.
wait, just stop for a second. So
Okay.
dementia, can you just pause it?
Yeah.
So just so dementia praecox. So because that's actually I have not seen this clip. I just want to see what that is. Dementia praecox. So is that dementia? Oh, can you go just a little
Sure.
bit before that? See what that is.
Sure.
Dementia.
Praecox. Praecox. Committee for Research in Dementia Praecox, which I don't have any
Committee for Research. So that sounds that doesn't sound necessarily like a scientific organization. It sounds more like a policy. It's a committee.
Oh,
Yeah. So dementia precox, I'm going to see what that dementia precox, manic depressive psychosis.
Oh, wow.
Schizophrenia. Dementia precox, meaning a premature dementia. Is a disused psychiatric. So some of these things are very important, right? All the language has changed. You have bipolar, you have multiple personality, you have dissociative identity.
Right.
But dementia precox, this is from Wikipedia, but meaning a precocious madness, which means means getting dementia, like senior dementia when you're 20 or something.
Right.
Is a disused psychiatric diagnosis that originally designated a chronic deteriorating psychotic disorder characterized by rapid cognitive disintegration, usually beginning in late teens and early adulthood. Over the years, the term dementia praecox was gradually replaced by the term schizophrenia.
Oh, wow. So
And
this is
also,
so long. This is so old. It's got the old terminology.
Well, this is where you find out. Check this out. Look, there's so many connections with. That's why I wanted to stop you there. Guess what's also connects with autism spectrum, autism, induction of autism. Right? You've got your robot slave class in the autism. But this is fascinating because committee. So this is why. So just think about it real quick. This is a anthropology documentary. This is it should be a research about culture, music. So how is it funded by the Committee for Research in Dementia Praecox? Again, and let me just look through. So Arnold Pick, this connects also. Oh, hebephrenia. Okay, it's connected with hebephrenia. So it was a German psychiatrist, email Kraepelin. So schizophrenia, this is manic depressive psychosis. Okay, but I want to look at this dementia is an ancient term used since the time of Lucretius in 50 BC, means being out of one's mind, state of cognitive and behavioral deterioration leading to psychosocial incompetence. Is that not what happened to all the people taking LSD? Or not all of them, a lot of them, right?
Good point. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of them went crazy. I knew people who dropped out of society. Like they dropped out of human social organization. Yeah. I mean, you could say all the deadheads in a way have done that, right? Like the drugs turned them into their own social unit in a way, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. And so what I want to say, just what I sort of alluded to a little bit is, so within when you have, we are not mechanistic. I think even a lot of this stuff, we are not just brains, right? But of course, it's all the biology is very valuable to understand, but this is a reductionist approach. But a lot of this stuff, the real research and knowledge has been submerged, as I mentioned in the beginning, but there's so many problems and issues, even by television. Television itself induces a type of alpha rhythm. It does. You have your beta brainwaves are inverted. Instead of being aware of the world, you're aware of your imaginary projections. But we have to look up that. So there's a lot. This is
incredible. Filmed in the 1930s. So this is like you're going back to Estabrook's time, right? And
Eugenics.
Estabrook's,
So this also, it's connected with the National Committee on Mental Hygiene and the Eugenics Records Office.
wow. Oh my gosh.
Can you just can you
wow.
go the can you just play the I want these are I want to just see who
So
these
this is
folks.
just the intro, right?
Yeah, I just want to see. So that, okay, supported through 33rd degrees
contract, North Masonic Church, Cambridge, right?
Okay,
Pro-League
so
with Cambridge. Vassar
33rd
College.
American
Unbelievable.
Museum of Natural History. We talked about evolution, right?
Right.
Department of Child Study, Vassar College. So why are these groups, you don't see, these are these are policy making, or they're scientific, but they're not necessarily, they're not directly. What does the 33rd degree Mason Scottish Rite have to do with this anthropology documentary?
Right.
So this is a pretty cool.
Yeah, they're studying this to apply it. They're not studying it as like a true objective anthropologist. They're trying to figure out how to get people into trance states and what's going on. They're simulating. How much different are these dancers from those people just dancing for hours at a freaking Deadhead show? Are they the Western version of these types of people? Putting them in trance? Aren't they going into a trance at the Fish concert or Deadhead or whatever, or even a modern rave? How much different is a rave to a Deadhead to one of these people in Bali?
Well, this is where which you can look at, and some of these things are difficult to find, but you can look at how, like, a lot of the understanding of how to implement music as a force of cultural change. Maybe just pause it, we can go through that. But so when you see that this was understood and known about a long time ago. I mean, you go back to Plato, you go back to ancient China, but the fact is that they researched. So within the context of Bali, right? So Bali, you have this religious culture, you have a very integrated social system. People are living very close to nature, and but you extract the form, and then you transplant it. So you want, and they're using how to create these types of states, but not, it's stripped out of its, if it's like, extracting a resource almost. It's stripped out of its traditional context, and then it's being applied. So why are they looking? So technically, like the trance and stuff like that, in this case, this was, it is part of, it's been there for thousands of years, right? In their cultural system. Right. And they have, I don't know about now, but actually much more social cohesion, much greater degree of happiness within the society than you had in the West, right? You don't have all this, people know their place. They have a very organic, connected, close-knit community. So the trance stuff is not socially destructive in Bali, but it's being extracted and turned into something that's absolutely social destructive in the West. And this also relates to certain types of rhythms that were used in Voodoo, that were used in Santeria, that were used to summon different types of demonic entities into the bodies of these different cults, right? You can look at West Africa or whatever. Some of these
isn't voodoo the same thing? The dancing and the trance state.
Well,
I mean, it's all there.
Like even like some of these rhythms, the downbeat, some of that rock rhythms, these were taken from certain types of rhythms that were used as in trance possession rituals and especially some of these actually, so even the voodoo, this is all coming actually initially from Africa, right? But you're taking, just as I mentioned, you're taking a rhythm that that book I wrote on this, but it was a different context, but these specific rhythms, they actually have almost, you could describe as magical properties in that they will affect the human bioorganism. They'll affect the brain, but they also potentially, and I think actually can open up sort of portals, right? They're opening up a channel for this type of energetic formation to come in. So you have a popular music. You've got like a rock beat. I said that beat, but you have beats that were used to summon types of demonic entities, and these are these become part of popular music. This is awesome to see this. So what does it say there? So trance occurs in Bali's in many different forms. Can you make that? You can't make that full screen, can you?
Let me try. Let's see. But is that full screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Trance is kind of synonymous with hypnosis. That's the whole interesting thing. I mean, I think that trance is a form of hypnosis. But let's see if we can go through this.
So Chris is against their breast without injuring themselves. This religious practice, dramatic theme. So I don't know what a Chris is.
It's like a special kind of knife. It's like
they're cutting themselves.
Yeah, they're cutting themselves. Yeah.
The conflict between the witch and the dragon.
Wow. Pago Eton, 1937, 1939.
33rd degree Scottish, right? The witch
sets forth her disciples to spread plague. The villagers wander the roads trying to escape the plague. There's a struggle between the witch in masked supernatural form and the emissary of the king who fails to kill her and is transformed into a dragon. The followers of the dragon are thrown into deep trance by the witch. Wow, total occult. Revived by the dragon into a somnambulistic state and turn their kisses violently against themselves. The performance ends with ceremonies for bringing the actors out of trance. Wow. So they're making hypnotism and then out of it. The play begins outside the temple to the music of an orchestra. So
maybe
this is incredible, dude. I have to download this. Like for people studying kind of MK Ultra behavioral modification, this is incredible because it's also inducing psychological states through music, but it's also a drama, right? So all the kids are watching it and getting all these archetypes, right? The dragon, the witch, the king, the servants.
Absolutely. And then you can start to see some of these forms, how they're coming into popular cultural forms, popular music, television shows. You know, it's
they've got all the, what do they call those? Mudras? Aren't those mudras?
Yeah, those are mudras. Yeah. And so and the Balinese music is quite interesting. So they have their own types of scales, different intervals, but it's this cyclical, layered stuff. And the music itself is very, very trance-inducing. So maybe go further ahead.
Yeah, it's almost like Indian. It has an Indian inflection or something. Wow. So there she's dead. Wow, this is crazy. It's incredible. It's incredible stuff. Let me get out of here. Hold on. Anyway. Somebody just give me.
Look at that. Wow, it's actually pretty creepy. Whoa.
Yeah, no, this is totally.
So these people are all possessed too, you know. So they're possessed. They're in trance. They're not just acting. Right. I mean, wow. This is pretty wild.
Super powerful. I'm just glad somebody recorded this. It's really something else. Wow.
Probably when I've actually had, oh man. You know what it reminds me of is what the Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, a little bit. Huh?
Sesame Street. Sesame Street. I wonder if that. Okay.
Wow, I doubt it. That would be wild if they tried to integrate that because it looks like it. It reminds me of kind of a Chinese dragon ceremony too.
Yeah,
I think it was a little bit of which I've seen.
Maybe just go to the end where they cut themselves. Yeah, because when they're in trance, it is pretty freaky to see them, right?
Wow. So this is really intense. Yeah.
This is.
Oh man, sorry.
So.
Nudity, is that a drug or is that just incense? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did they do they use psychedelics in Bali? I don't know.
I don't, I'm not aware of that, but the thing is that, I mean, they do, I mean, there's things, and I witnessed this in some of my research too, in you know, in the Himalayas or whatever. So you get in these trance states. I mean, you can do things that, you know, you dip your hand in boiling molten metal and you don't
Right.
get injured, right? So there's things that happen, but anyway, so this is she did so the research on Bali, and then her coming of age in Samoa is basically a free homage to, it's basically the Kinsey report scientifically. That helped create the justification for the whole Kinsey stuff, Playboy,
Right,
all that
right.
stuff. So she's a precursor for that.
Right.
And then cultural relativism and whatever. But but a lot of her work was behind the scenes, just as Bateson's is. But Bateson was, you have also Ericksonian hypnosis.
Right.
And these are
He's
all
in that same thing. Erickson is in the Macy conferences. He's all over there. And Erickson's all NLP too. So what they were studying goes way back, even before MK Ultra. This is 37 to 39. They probably got integrated into it, but they're doing the research in the 30s. It's crazy.
And I can't find anything on that. So just even know that dementia praecox, schizophrenia, so schismogenesis, right? And then you go fast forward to R.D. Lang, right? Insanity is actually sanity. We live in an insane society. Schizophrenia is actually, and the creativity comes from schizophrenia, right? Induction, and of course the original name of hallucinogens were what? I forgot. Schismogens, something like
Schismogen,
that.
wow.
Yeah, so they
change
create
it to psychedelic. Yeah,
psychedelic, then entheogens.
Right. So that's even a better
brings you
term,
to God, right? Entheo. So that means
hold on, don't come over here. Hold on. I gotta run. I got some people over. It's a great place to stop because we can pick up next time with trance and dance in Bali and watch this with music. And I'm curious about your take on this, listening to the sounds. You know what I mean? Because I bet they change up and mix up, and there's different statements in this. I would love to see this translated too, see what they're actually saying.
Well, I'm interested in this committee because, and the one thing I'll say though, and I don't want to, I wonder,
and we'll talk to this guy. We'll get Tolkien Study on here
to
quite
interesting.
We could have a couple extra good episodes. But I wish I didn't have to go, but I think it's a good time for me to
go. All right, William. Well, hey, I'm glad we hit it.
Yeah,
and,
Hans, next time, let's do it soon. Yeah, I'll download this and I'll get in touch with Tolkien, and we'll try to get a show on Norbert.
We could probably pretty good. So probably next week, probably work for me.
Yeah, let's try for next week as soon as possible. Really, I'm open almost all next week, so I'll work around your schedule. Just today's not really that great of a day for me.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
all right, man.
All right, see you later, William.
Yeah, take care,
man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Bye. Okay, I'm done.